One Friday, me and the boys had planned to go to a party. It was in the neighborhood that was across the I-75 freeway overpass. In the late 90s, house parties were still a thing. You could get the same, if not better, experience that you could get at a nightclub on the right night. And this party was going to be one of those ones. We had just got done chilling at the Packer plant, which oddly enough ended chaotically and abruptly. A few of us stayed to smoke more because it was closer to the party than the neighborhood was. I was already dressed, feeling confidently in my fresh new pair of Air Max 95s with all the air at the bottom. They were white with a silver and black swoosh that matched the David Robinson San Antonio Spurs jersey impeccably. Also, black head and wristbands with a pair of stonewashed Guess jeans that accented the whole outfit. We were prepared. When I say that, I meant that we all knew the hot girls, smart girls, and bad girls would be in the same house at the same time. We all gathered that we weren't very confident with girls. Truth be told, when I think back, there were only a handful of guys that truly knew how to handle themselves and come out with the W. And we weren't amongst those guys.
Bruh.
But that day, we vowed that things would be different. We kinda hyped ourselves up for that win-loss mentality, even a draw. Anything would be better than nothing of not trying. So this was a normal party for everybody else that was going. But for my group of boys, it was time to ascend. Time to ascend to manhood. For my group of boys, this marked an actual first attempt. A first try. And we were ready to take whatever came with it. But give it our best shot. Around 8:30, we met up a block or so away from the party. Cars were already parked past where we were even standing on both sides of the street. I always thought, how do they get so many people inside of one domicile, one dwelling? After we stood outside, rolled our blunts, and finished off a half pint of V&J, we gathered our strength and rolled in. We had a gaggle of blunts and 2 more half pints of V&J. I felt like our entrance was perfect. All of the older dudes high-fived us up. As a form of homage, we passed them 1 of the half pints and a couple of blunts. After exchanging greetings, we make our way to a corner that was next to a big speaker with a group of girls on either side of it. I recognized one of the girls in the group on the left. Now, not to say that any of the other girls that were in the group followed her or they were some form of hierarchy. She was kind of the de facto leader. She was hot, 5'10", tall, long pretty hair, near perfect body. We actually went to school together. Me and her brothers hung out sometimes. As every guy and even some girls in the neighborhood were lining up for her. And the other group was the other hottest girl in the neighborhood. She was also with her friends in a group that I could describe quite the same. One thing they had in common was that they both danced well. They also both had the attention of everybody at the party. Well, almost everybody. It turned into an attention contest. I knew this would go one of a few ways. And not too long later, that thought of a showdown would come to a screeching halt when both of the hottest girls end up in the arms of the top hardhead of the neighborhood. I mean, don't get me wrong. We were all from Detroit. But you know the type I'm talking about. The kind of guys that without instruction, you knew to just leave alone. One, he had just come home from jail earlier that month. I had no idea that the 5'10" stallion had been taking all of her writing talents and using them to keep him company while he was away. Unbeknownst to all of us, they were a couple, or a triple.
Bruh.
However you want to see it. At the point I realized that I had no chance with the 5'10" beauty queen, my night began to sour. I remember going into a fog and just sparking up 2 blunts at the same time and passing them in either direction, and then cracking the last half pint and guzzling it until I couldn't anymore. It warranted a cheer from the crowd. That's not what I came for. That was only pain. None of that was celebration. One of the homies had his mom's car, and I was ready to go. It was literally a 5-minute drive from the neighborhood right across the freeway. But he had not arrived 5 minutes ago before, so he was not in a hurry to leave. He said he would take me in a minute. And a minute turns into about an hour, and I calm down, but something else begins to eat at me. I had that weird feeling that smothered me, like there wasn't enough space inside the party for me. I'm not talking physically. I'm talking spiritually. Have you ever had that feeling that it was time to go? Have you ever had the feeling of impending doom without evidence, without incident? Have you ever just knew that you were in the wrong place right before it was about to be the wrong time? Now this is going to sound straight out of a Final Destination movie, but it is the guide to honest truth. After asking my friend with his mom's car to leave over an hour before, I began to grow insistent. I offered him 2 of the 4 blunts that I had left, if he would take me right then. He agreed, but still went right back to talking to other people in the party. 5 minutes later, I came back and I offered him the same blunts and to smoke a blunt on the way to the house if he left right that second. After overhearing the weed situation and seeing that the party was dying down a little bit, and we were not going to make any progress with our girl mission, most of the homies were ready to roll too. So soon after this final time, the push not only came from me, it came from them. It took him until the 3rd time to see that something was up with me. It wasn't the girls. It wasn't even the vibe. It was something otherworldly. Hindsight, I was thinking I could have just walked, but something pushed me to get my friends out of there too. After overhearing the weed situation and seeing that the party was dying down a little bit anyway, and we were not going to make any progress on our girl mission, most of the homies were ready to roll too. So on this final time, the push not only came from me, it came from the other homies too. So it was 4 against 1. We finally make it back to the car. And this was back when you had to have a good CD that didn't have scratches on it so you could have something nice to play for the ride. At last, we were finally on the way home. No longer than 2 seconds after we bent the corner at the end of the block is when we heard it. A hail of gunshots. More than 10, less than 30, different calibers. It was preceded by a long tire screech and a loud scream, and then simultaneous boom, 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 boom. The sound shocked us. My homie driving stopped the car almost in the middle of the street to catch his bearings and then took off instinctually. When we made it to my house, we ended up smoking a few blunts, and then everybody made their way to the house. Little did we know, we just dodged a full-scale drive-by that killed 9 people and maimed 6 others. I just kept thinking, what if the girls were digging us? Like, what if the hard-head guy hadn't showed up and taken all of the girls' attention? Would we still be there? We have been standing in the middle of the party when it got filled up with gunshots. Will we be alive today? We still talk about that day from time to time. We refer to it as our little final destination moment. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not the coolest guy in the room all the time.